We are here at the Boulevard Drive-In in Kansas City, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Child's Play. Joining me here is the star of Child's Play, Alex Vincent. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
So, 25 years ago, the world is introduced to Charles Lee Ray, Chucky, the mean SOB, as the critics put it. Really, what's it like, 25 years, seeing that this character is still enduring, and what do you think makes him that endearing?
I think the idea to begin with of a doll coming to life and trying to kill you is sort of a fear in everybody already. As Brad Dourif put it over this past weekend, we've all seen the shadow cross over a doll's face late at night and look at it and think, maybe that, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that doll's going to come to life any second here and try to kill me in my sleep. I think there's an actual fear of dolls. It's people go to therapy over it. So I think it's a fear that people have to begin with. So I think it was destined for that to be made into a horror film. And why Chucky himself? He's scary, he's violent, but he's also endearing and funny and sarcastic. And I think it's a character that people just enjoy for a multitude of different levels. So.
I totally agree. As I told you off camera, what my issue with Chucky growing up was. I was terrified. And, I kind of think, like you said, everybody kind of has that fear every now and then. You look at the Freddy Kruegers, the Jason Voorhees, somewhat believable, but everybody at some point has a doll in their life, in their house. And, it's just terrifying. So, I know it's a question you probably answered a lot, but how did you get cast as Andy Barclay, the ever-evolving nemesis of Charles Lee Ray?
I was just auditioning. I was auditioning in New York City for most of my childhood, from when I was 5 till I was 13. Like 3 or 4 times a week, I would be driven into New York City for auditions. I did a couple commercials. I did a soap opera for a little while, and that was the first film that I was cast in. And I got a few callbacks. I went out to California and had a final callback against a couple other kids, and got the job.
So I guess let's jump a couple years into the future. Then 1990, Child's Play 2 is released. What was the process on that? Was it just kind of like it did so well, we need to fast track a sequel, or was it just, we can't let Chucky go away?
Yeah, I guess people wanted there to be a sequel. There was more of the story to tell. And in the 90s, like nowadays, if there's a film and it has any success at all, there's guaranteed to be a sequel. Back then, even a horror film, especially a horror film, the chances of a sequel coming out 2 years later, it wasn't all that common. But people liked the story, they liked the concept, and I think Don Mancini had more to tell, and they had a different way of putting it together. So they just moved right along with it.
Right on. Child's Play 2, growing up was probably, and I can't really explain it, it was the only one I could watch without being completely terrified. Now, granted, at the time that would have been around on home video, you only had 1 and 2. I know 3 came out later. But do you kind of think that maybe that one's not as scary as the first one? If so, was that done on purpose?
No, I think it was supposed to be as scary as the first one. I think it is for some people. A lot of people tell me the second one is their favorite of the whole series. And I don't know if that means it's the scariest or not, but no, I think it scared people. There were a couple more laughs. I think progressively through the first 5, there were more and more laughs up until Seed of Chucky, which was just a comedy. And it wasn't until this new one, The Curse of Chucky, that they decided to really pull it back to the original concept and make it a horror film again.
So you mentioned Curse of Chucky. Everybody at home can see this lovely Curse of Chucky shirt. First movie in the series to go direct to DVD, direct to Blu-ray. Commentary on my part, that is a travesty. It's probably the best one since the first one. It is a straight, in my opinion, horror movie. Again, there's a few laughs that you'd expect from Chucky. Should we kind of mention your involvement in that, or?
Well, at this point, it's kind of become kind of known. They thought of a really great way to bring my character back into play. And, you got to be patient with the film. You got to watch the unrated version. You got to stick all the way through the credits. But if you do, there's a little surprise for Chucky fans. This new film was really a love letter to Child's Play and Chucky fans. It was catered to exactly what they asked for. Fans wanted the film to be scary again. and that's what Don Mancini gave him. I mean, this is a gothic horror film in an old style house. Chucky terrorizing a new family from scratch. It's both remake and continuation. It's just a throwback to the original concept of it being a horror film, and Chucky um, having some anger directed at someone. It's not just fun and games anymore. He's kind of out for vengeance in this new one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm glad that you mentioned that it was kind of a love letter to the Child's Play fans. That was the one thing I thought. I thought there's some very Hitchcockian suspense and some scares. And, without giving anything away, I mean, it really does tie up a lot of loose ends, from the first three movies. I don't know if it's ever been officially stated. In my opinion, it's more of a sequel to Part 3. It kind of seems to ignore Bride and Seed. Maybe, I mean, there's room for those to, yeah. I mean, there's a way for the fans to.
There's good surprises, and then there's people that you wanted to see, you get to see again. And, they snuck me in right at the right time, I think. If this was a love letter to fans, this film, I really am happy to say that I think they brought my character back in as kind of the kiss goodnight before the lights go out to the series. And not to say that doesn't mean there won't be more. I mean, Chucky is eternal at some level. I mean, he said we'd be friends to the end, and he wasn't bullshitting me because here he is still in my life. So we'll see, I think there's going to be more to it.
So something to kind of touch on there. When you got the call, is this something that you feel like kind of shedding some light on? Were you like, oh God, yes, let's go down the rabbit hole one more time, or was it kind of like, I don't know?
Well, sometimes with these films, when they do a remake or a sequel many years later, and they have a cameo of someone who's in the original film, they have them play like the pizza guy or like the delivery boy or some inconsequential character. So when I read the script and saw that, he wanted me to come back as Andy, I mean, it was a no-brainer. I mean, I probably would have done it anyway because it would have been fun, but Don Mancini and I have maintained a friendship over the years, and he's been an inspiration to me as a screenwriter and creatively, and he's a good friend. So I think he was excited about the opportunity to put my character back into the story, and I was certainly excited at the opportunity to play him.
I'm glad that you mentioned it. It's a nice segue. A screenwriter. You recently wrote a screenplay that the fans can now watch. It's called House Guest. I watched it the other night. I'm going to throw all professionalism out the window here. It's fantastic. I loved it. Is there anything you can tell us about House Guest, maybe where even the fans can find it?
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the compliment. It's a film that these guys down in Florida hired me as a screenwriter. They've made a couple short films. They wanted to make a feature, and they hired me as a screenwriter. And I wrote a film for them. I wrote it in November of last year. They liked it. They cast it immediately. We were filming it by the end of January, and we shot it all on a 5D for basically no money. We got local actors that really put everything that they had into it. As a screenwriter, it was incredibly rewarding to see my words come to life from actors that I didn't cast, and I didn't have any decision making over who was going to play these roles. So it was really a great experience. And then they asked me to play the lead in it, or one of the leads. So I did, and that was fun. I mean, I had a really good time with it. And then I went to school for audio, so I did all the audio mix on the film, and I did some original scoring. And it was a great experience. We put a movie together from beginning to end for time and effort as opposed to money. And I think it was really our intention was to just have a stepping stone film of like, well, here's what we can make for nothing. And you saw it. I don't think it looks like a film that costs nothing to make. So we'll see what that leads. I've written I have 5-6 other screenplays I've written. I have a bunch of other ideas, things I'm outlining, working on now once I stop traveling and promoting this new film and making all these Child's Play appearances, because I've been super busy the past few months. But once I get some time to start writing again, our plan is to start shooting the next one in January, February. So we're trying to keep things moving down in Florida.
All right, glad to hear. Well, I guess really that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Joined by Alex Vincent of Child's Play 2, Curse of Chucky. Before we go, the fans, you know, I mean, fans always flock to you at shows like this. How can the fans get a hold of you if they really want to? Social media, website?
If they really want to, they've figured out a way. Because I honestly, over the past few weeks, I mean, I'm completely grateful and gracious and thankful that the fans still care and have so much support and have shown so much support. But yeah, over the past few weeks since Curse of Chucky, it's been nonstop. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm on Facebook like everybody else, and you can find me on Facebook. I have a website, alexvincentonline.com. There's my list of appearances and a store to buy some autograph photos if you wanted. Plus, we have houseguestfilm.com. You can go and buy the DVD for the new film.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much. I appreciate this time. Have a great time. Thank you.